Title: The Empire on Which the Sun Never Set. Narrative script: deep cinematic tone. Opening quote: Empires rise not by destiny, but by the will of men who dare to dream beyond the horizon. Narrator: deep, steady tone. There was once an island, small, gray, and shrouded in mist. An island that would one day command the oceans, rewrite maps, and rule over a quarter of the world. This is the story of the British Empire. The empire on which the sun never set. It began in the 16th century, when sails filled with wind and hearts filled with ambition, merchants, explorers, and dreamers left the safety of English shores to chase wealth and glory across the unknown seas. They called it exploration, but it was the beginning of empire. From the Caribbean to the coasts of Africa, from India to the far reaches of the Pacific, the red of Britain's flag spread like fire across the globe. Ships carried tea, silk, sugar, and spices, and behind them came muskets and flags. Trade became conquest. Commerce became control. In 1600, the East India Company was born, a company with the power of a kingdom. It did not just trade, it ruled. It built armies, minted coins, and made emperors kneel. India, the jewel in the crown, became the beating heart of the British Empire. But power has a price. Where wealth flowed into London's banks, blood flowed in distant lands. Rebellion, resistance, and revolution brewed beneath the surface. By the 18th century, the empire was unstoppable. Its navy, the most powerful the world had ever seen, turned oceans into highways of domination. Britain fought wars not just for survival, but for supremacy. From the American colonies to the African coast, it stood against kings, rebels, and empires alike. But in 1776, something changed. 13 colonies rose against their master. Taxation without representation, they cried. And the first crack appeared in the mighty empire. The United States of America was born, and Britain learned that empires are not built forever. Yet the loss did not break Britain. It adapted, evolved, and turned its eyes eastward. The 19th century became its golden age, an age of steam, steel, and science. Trains thundered across continents. Telegraph lines tied the world together. And, at the center of it all, the British Empire stood proud. The workshop of the world. Queen Victoria ruled over lands so vast that her morning began in one colony and her night ended in another. God save the Queen, they sang. From London to Delhi, from Cape Town to Sydney, the empire had become a global machine, built on the engines of industry and the labor of millions. But beneath the grandeur lay the shadows, the famine in Bengal, the chains of slavery, the cries of those who had no voice in the empire that ruled them. For every ship that carried gold, another carried grief. For every monument built, a people were broken. The British believed they brought civilization, yet in doing so, they often forgot their own humanity. Then came the 20th century, the century that broke empires. 2 world wars would test the might of nations and the will of men. Britain stood firm in the first, triumphant yet scarred. But the second left the empire bleeding. Bombs fell on London. Troops were stretched thin across continents. And when the guns finally fell silent, the world was no longer theirs. The empire had spent its power and its purpose. In 1947, India, the jewel of the crown, won her freedom. Gandhi's nonviolence broke the chains that armies could not. One by one, the colonies followed. Africa, the Caribbean, the Pacific, nations once ruled began to rise. Britain's red faded from the maps, replaced by new flags, new dreams, new identities. The empire was gone, not with a crash, but with a sigh. And yet, its legacy remained. English became the language of the world. Parliamentary democracy, common law, and global trade carried the empire's echoes far beyond its fall. The roads, the railways, the cities, they still whisper of empire. But the truest legacy lies not in power or possession. It lies in reflection, in learning that even the greatest empires must one day bow to time. Closing lines. Slow, reflective tone. The sun once never set on the British Empire, but in the end, it did not take darkness to end it, only the dawn of a new world. For no empire lasts forever, only the stories remain. And title idea, the rise and fall of the British Empire, a legacy written in gold and in shadows.